At my 65th birthday party, I decided to tell the truth. I lifted my glass. No, let me say it the way it actually felt. I lifted my glass, smiled the way women smile when they've spent their whole lives practicing in a mirror, and asked, out loud, in front of everyone, "Ryan, are you sure the baby is yours?" The room went quiet. Not the cute kind of pause. The real kind. The kind that rings in your ears and then follows you around for years, showing up at 2 a.m. when you thought you were finally asleep. Emily went pale so fast it was like someone drained the color right out of her. She didn't argue. She didn't cry. She just stood up and walked out without looking back. Ryan looked at me, and it wasn't a son looking at his mother. It was a grown man looking at someone who had just hurt him, on purpose, with an audience. He pushed his chair back slowly, carefully, like one wrong move might shatter something else, and he went after his wife. The MC I paid good money for tried to save the night with a joke. Somebody let out a nervous little laugh. Somebody suddenly needed water. I stood there with my glass and my smile because my face is never allowed to admit what's happening inside me. And just like that, with one question, I ruined my own party. We live in Houston. Big city, big highways, big ambitions, and tiny privacy, especially if you have a habit of managing anything that moves. My son's name is Ryan. He's a software guy at a major energy company, smart, put together, calm, the kind of man people describe with, he's solid. He doesn't yell. He doesn't lose things. He doesn't forget bills. He grew up exactly the way I wanted him to. I raised him alone. Or more accurately, I raised him without permission to be weak. My marriage to Jason ended in a way that had me checking the locks in broad daylight for a long time afterward. Not because he might come back, because the feeling of betrayal sticks, and you start treating your own life like a crime scene. Ryan recently bought a condo downtown. He was renovating, and for now he was staying with me, at my neat little house in the suburbs where the lawn is trimmed, the trash bins must be behind the fence, and if you park your car wrong, the HOA will send you a letter like it's a court summons. I like order. Order is the one thing that doesn't leave, if you grip it hard enough. I knew Ryan had a girlfriend. He didn't say much. Too little. It irritated me and scared me at the same time. When a man stays quiet, he's either not sure yet, or he's already sure and he's bracing for impact. One night he said, "Mom, I want you to meet Emily." I nodded like I'd been given 3 months' notice, and I'd processed it in therapy. Inside, my brain snapped into a checklist. Who is she? Where's she from? What kind of family? What does she do? What are her plans? And the biggest, most honest question, one mothers don't say out loud, what is she going to take from me? I set up dinner like he was bringing home an inspection team, not a future wife. Everything was right. The right napkins, the right candles, the right music at the right volume. Even me, polite, pleasant, perfectly controlled. They arrived on time. Ryan was happy. Really happy. It made me uneasy. A son's happiness can feel like competition. Emily was small and fair, with that careful smile people have when they've spent their whole lives being evaluated. She stood straight, but her hands gave her away, tense, fingers locking and unlocking like she was trying to decide what to do with them. "Mrs. Johnson, thank you for having me," she said. Soft voice. A faint rural twang, The kind you hear from someone who didn't grow up in the city, but in a place where everyone knows everyone and life is too close for comfort. Deborah, I corrected, keeping my smile. No formalities at home. Ryan caught the subtext. Of course he did. He always did. He'd just spent most of his life making sure my subtext never became a problem. Emily told me she grew up in a small Texas town, in a family where money was tight and everything ran on, "We'll figure it out." She studied, worked, picked up shifts. Now she's a nurse at a private clinic. She spoke calmly, no sob story, no, "Look how hard my life was." And somehow that annoyed me even more, because if someone doesn't complain, they're either strong or dangerous. Ryan looked at her the way a man looks at a woman he's already chosen. Not, "I'm thinking," not, "We'll see." Chosen. "We met by accident," he said, smiling in a way that made me feel like I didn't even know my own kid. "She saved my life. I'm not kidding." My shoulders tightened. "How?" I asked, too quickly. Emily dipped her gaze a little, like the topic made her uncomfortable. "Long story," Ryan said. Emily was there when I was in a bad place." I didn't like how he said "bad place," like it meant a cold. But his tone hid something heavier. I tracked every word, every pause, every smile, every glance. And the more I watched, the more I felt like I was being lied to. Because Emily was too perfect, too quiet, too low maintenance. And I already knew the type of women who demand the most later without raising their voice. When dinner ended, she helped clear plates. Not because I asked. She just did it. "You don't have to," I said. "It's no trouble," she answered calmly. I smiled again, for the third time that night, and thought, of course, no trouble. You're already the lady of the house. Jason once seemed no trouble too, charming, easy, fun. He could talk in a way that made you feel important. And then you learn you were important only as a wallet and a convenient woman who carries everything and asks no inconvenient questions. He lived with me while he was finding himself. He found himself for a long time. So long I started to wonder if he just got lost on the road to responsibility. Then one day I saw him in a restaurant with another woman, younger, laughing. He held her hand like he'd never owed anyone money or decency in his life. When I threw him out, he said casually, "You control everything. You're impossible to live with." Funny thing is, I took that sentence and turned it into a weapon. I decided that if someone accuses me of controlling, it means control is necessary, because otherwise everything falls apart. Because my job is not to relax. That's why when Emily showed up, I didn't see my son's girlfriend. I saw a threat. Not to him, to me. I told myself, I'm protecting Ryan. The truth was simpler. I was protecting my place. They got married fast. There was no picture-perfect scene I'd built in my head. No big celebration with me in the front row. No guests telling me what a strong woman I am, how amazing I did raising such a son. No moment where my role as the main character was officially recognized. They kept it quiet. Minimal people. Maximum, "This is what feels good for us." I heard. Us. And I understood. Not you. Then they flew to Florida. Just the two of them, down on the coast. Ryan sent ocean photos. Emily smiled in those pictures like she could finally breathe. I looked at them and felt something ugly growing inside me. Out loud I said, "I'm glad they got to rest." Inside I added, "On my money, on my nerves, and without my consent. After the wedding, Ryan came around less. He spoke more carefully, and I started doing what I do best, throwing small stones. "Emily, are you planning to keep going with school?" I'd ask like I was curious. "These days it's hard without a degree." She'd answer calmly, "I am. We're just saving right now. And I'm working." I'd nod, smile, and translate in my head, saving equals settling in and locking it down. I found flaws the way some people find their keys, fast, even in the dark. Her too quiet laugh, her too simple topics, her family, no one in offices, no one saying investments without choking on the word. Her habit of not arguing, which I was convinced was the most dangerous kind of resistance. Sometimes Ryan would say, "Mom, stop." And I'd answer, "I'm just asking." Because "I'm just asking" is the universal cover story for women who know they're hurting someone but refuse to label themselves the villain. One day my stomach cramped so sharply I actually got scared. I called 911. Paramedics arrived fast, polite, calm. They checked the basics, asked about meds and history. Then they said, "Nothing looks emergent right now, but you should get it checked out." I called my primary care doctor. The soonest appointment was in a couple of weeks. Perfect. Exactly what you want to hear when you're panicking. Wait. I found an imaging center that could do an ultrasound that same day. Yes, it was money. Yes, paperwork. Yes, this may be out of network. I didn't care. I wanted answers. Inside it was sterile and expensive. Soft chairs, a coffee machine, glossy magazines, and those calm front desk smiles. America is very good at selling concern in pretty packaging. They asked me to wait. I grabbed a magazine and was about to flip it open when I heard a voice I recognized immediately. "Dr. Leonard Constantine, you're ready." Emily, in a white coat, confident, in her element, tablet in hand, that professional calm people get when they look at other people's pain all day. I instinctively lifted the magazine higher, like a teenager hiding a phone from a teacher. I didn't want her to see me here, not because I was embarrassed, because I didn't want to admit my daughter-in-law wasn't a girl from nowhere. She's trained. She's inside the system. She isn't someone I can flatten with a look. I watched her talk to coworkers, make notes, smile, calmly, professionally. Then a man stepped out of a room, tall, confident, that physician posture that screams success. He looked at Emily and held the gaze one beat too long, smiled, said something low. Emily smiled back. Polite, work smile. The smile medical people use to keep everyone from spiraling. But I'm not a patient. I'm a mother. And mothers can draw an entire story on empty space so vividly they start believing it. A little later, while I was waiting, I heard the front desk whispering, the way people whisper when they want everyone to hear. "Dr. Andrew Paulson is double-checking everything again. He used to pursue her, you know." "Emily? Seriously?" "Yeah. Before she was with that husband." I froze. The magazine turned heavy in my hands. Dr. Andrew Paulson. The name landed in my head like a headline. I got my exam. The provider said they didn't see anything alarming. Maybe a spasm, maybe stress. Keep an eye on it. Stress. Yes. Of course. I walked out to the parking lot and called Ryan immediately. "I was at the clinic where Emily works today," I said, too calm. "And there's a doctor there. He clearly, you know." Ryan was quiet for a second. "Mom," he said, Are you trying to tell me Emily is cheating on me? I'm saying it. Looks strange. For who? For you? His voice went colder. She works. People talk. People smile. That's normal. He was looking at her like the men look at my wife. He cut in. She's beautiful. You can stop acting surprised. I felt irritation rise. You're blind. You're too trusting. I trust the person who became my family, he said. Not your fantasies. Pause. And Mom, he added, quieter now. Lately you've been crossing lines. I stood there in the parking lot with my phone at my ear, and for the first time I felt like I was losing him, not because of a woman, but because of me. And instead of stopping, I decided I needed to move faster. Because when you're convinced you're right, speed feels like virtue. When I turned 65, I decided I deserved a proper celebration. Big, nice. The kind where everything is done my way. Where I'm the center and it's considered normal because it's my birthday. I rented a hall, ordered dinner, hired an MC, someone who knows how to joke without offending anyone or triggering a complaint. Music, lights, decorations, guests. Everything right. I wanted Ryan there. I wanted him close. I wanted him smiling at me. I wanted to feel important again. They came. Ryan, calm, contained. Emily, a little tired but bright. And yes, pregnant. When they announced it, the room clapped. People congratulated me like I personally made the baby. Someone said, "You're going to be a grandma," in the tone of an award ceremony. I smiled, hugged, thanked. And inside, everything spun around the same image. The doctor's look, the whispered gossip, my certainty that I was being played. I thought, this is it. This is the moment. I have to protect my son. Such a convenient thought, isn't it? I lifted my glass and asked the question. The words came out easily, too easily. Ryan, are you sure the baby is yours? In my mind, I said it gently. In reality, my voice was sharp, like a blade. Emily froze, then stood, then walked out. Ryan looked at me, and I saw something I hadn't noticed before. Exhaustion. Not from work. From me. He stood up and went after her. The MC mumbled something about, sometimes moms joke a little too hard. Someone laughed. Someone pretended this was normal. People are very good at adapting to someone else's humiliation, as long as it isn't theirs. And I stood at the center of my own party and suddenly understood that the center is just loneliness. Ryan didn't answer my calls. At first I called a lot, then less. Then I wrote messages that started with Ryan, and ended with me deleting everything and sending "How are you?" because even in panic I wanted to look normal. A week later, my number was blocked. I still had keys to his place. An old ritual. Just in case. A couple of times I stood at my own door with those keys in my hand and thought, I can. I have the right. I'm his mother. Then I pictured him opening the door and seeing me there. Uninvited, confident, righteous. And I understood. That wouldn't be mother. That would be someone violating boundaries. So I didn't go. For 2 months I lived inside the silence I created. During the day I kept myself busy. Cleaned an already clean kitchen. Rearranged things. Went to the store like I needed 5 different teas to survive life. At night, I turned on the TV for background and pretended I was fine. Sometimes I caught myself listening not to the show, but to the quiet between the lines, like I was waiting for a phone to ring inside the empty space. I kept repeating, "I only wanted what was best." That phrase is the favorite excuse of people who hurt someone and aren't ready to admit it. He came on his own. No warning. Just opened the door with his key and walked in. I jumped like a teenager caught cheating. "Ryan," I breathed, stepping toward him. He didn't push me away, but he didn't step in either. That half step of distance can hurt worse than a slammed door. "Emily's on shift," he said. "I came to talk." I immediately started talking first, because that's how I control a situation. "I saw her at the clinic. I saw the way that doctor looks at her. Andrew. Dr. Andrew Paulson. Everyone knows." Ryan blinked. "Are you seriously still doing this?" he asked quietly. "I'm trying to protect you." "Mom." He exhaled slowly. "Okay. I'm going to tell you something you don't know. And you're going to try, just for a minute, not to be right." I wanted to argue. I wanted to say I've always been right, that I raised him, that I carried everything alone. But something in his voice made me stop. "Make tea," he said. "This is going to be a long conversation." Ryan told me about the year in college when he tried to live. Tyler showed up, older, confident, the kind of charm that shuts off caution in young men. Anthony showed up, loud, funny, always, "Come on, relax." Evan showed up, quiet, not awful, just always there because he was terrified of falling out of the group. Ryan wanted to be like everyone. He wanted to stop being the kid who always did everything right. It started with parties, then alcohol, then something else, which he described quickly, without details. His tone was enough. This wasn't a story about one time. Then came skipped classes, failed finals, warnings, academic probation, then suspension. "I didn't tell you," he admitted. "I was scared. You would have destroyed me." I wanted to say, "I would have saved you." I didn't, because suddenly I realized saved, coming from me, might sound a lot like broke you so I could rebuild you. "I started taking money from you," he continued. "At first, for food. Then, more." He looked me in the eye. "I sold your jewelry." Something dropped inside me. I remembered the day I couldn't find my earrings and decided I must have misplaced them. I always decide it's me, because the thought my son stole is too terrifying to hold. "I disappeared for a couple days," Ryan said. "You called the police. Remember?" I remembered. Of course I did. The officer asked the standard questions. Is he an adult? Is he at risk? Does he have addiction issues? Any threats? They said adults sometimes leave. Adults sometimes don't want contact. They told me they'd log the report and do a welfare check if there was any info. Back then it felt like indifference. Now I understand. The system doesn't let a mother order the world to bring her adult son back. "I was at a bus stop," Ryan said softly. "Rain. Cold. I wasn't thinking straight. I could have died, Mom." I tightened my grip on the mug. My fingers went white. "I looked homeless," he added with a bitter half-smile. "And I was sure nobody would stop." He paused, and the air in the room got heavier. "Then she came up," he said. "Emily. We didn't know each other. At all." Emily saw him, asked if he was okay. He mumbled something. She called 911, held his hand until the paramedics came, went with him to the ER because he was alone, and in that state, alone is basically a sentence. The doctor told me later I was minutes away, Ryan said. She literally stopped it. I sat there trying to understand one thing. How did I not know? Where was I? The answer was simple and brutal. I was home, assuming he was out doing whatever. She kept coming by afterward, he continued. She listened. No lectures. No how could you. She just sat with me. He looked at me like he was checking if I could handle it. She told me about herself, the small town, the poverty, working and studying, the decision she made. Either she gets out or her whole life stays stuck in just endure it. I remembered her calm smile at dinner and realized it wasn't humility. It was the habit of not explaining herself. And then, Ryan said, Tyler tried to drag me out again, to celebrate. I almost went. And Emily called. She could tell by my voice where I was. He gave a short, humorless laugh. She said, If you go there right now, it's over. I can't watch you kill yourself. I pulled in a breath like I'd just surfaced. And I chose myself for the first time, he said. I walked away from them. I stopped drowning. He paused, and his voice hardened. That's why I trust her, Mom. Because she didn't take money from me. She didn't attach herself. She put into me what money can't measure. Time, nerves, responsibility. And she did it when I was nobody. I tried to say, I didn't know. He didn't let me hide behind it. You didn't want to know, he said quietly. It was more convenient for you to believe she was hunting my paycheck. Because then you're the good guy. You're protecting. You're not the villain. I sat there feeling my familiar world crack, the one where I'm always the main character. And yes, he added, Dr. Andrew Paulson did ask Emily out once. She turned him down, and she asked me not to make a scene because she didn't want you deciding she was a saint compared to your suspicions. She just wanted to live. He stood up. We're having a baby, he said, and I will not let anyone, Mom, humiliate my wife. Not even you. He walked to the door, stopped, and said, If you want to be part of our life, you're going to have to apologize. For real. To Emily. Not to me. And he left. I was alone. In a perfectly clean living room. In my order. In a house where everything had its place, except me. I thought I was protecting my son. What I was really protecting was my right to be the main woman in his life. Emily didn't steal him. She apparently brought me back a living person, a man who might not have come back at all. And the worst part is, there's no one else to blame. Not the police, not the doctors, not bad friends, not fate. Just me. I picked up my phone, opened messages, found Emily's chat. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Because an apology can be control too, if you're doing it for your own relief. I typed, Emily, I was wrong. Deleted it. Typed again. I'm sorry. Deleted it. Because I was sorry. And I was even more ashamed. I put the kettle on, then turned it off, then put it on again. People do pointless little actions when they're trying not to do the one thing that matters. And the thing that mattered was simple and terrifying. Admit that my question at that party wasn't honesty. It was a public slap to a woman who, once in the rain at a bus stop, did what I've always treated as my job. She saved Ryan. And now, if one day someone puts my grandchild in my arms, it won't be because I earned it. It'll be because Emily is better than me, and maybe, just maybe, strong enough to let me back in. Thanks for watching. If this story hit close to home, give it a like, subscribe for more, and drop a comment. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family? I'd love to hear your perspective.